If you just start saving $15 a day, that is like $500 on a monthly basis, you will be having like more than 1 million at your retirement.
Why people should avoid going into that kind of a cycle? Because that's dangerous.
That's the rule of thumb. I actually, help everybody understand that 10% of your income should be saved, does not matter how much you're making. So two rules: actually invest consistently and give it enough time to grow.
Because if you are in the emotional roller coaster, if you don't have an advisor, you will encash the money very fast.
Short term will never help you build wealth, because if you keep accessing that money, you're not actually growing that money.
So if you put everything into long term, you don't have any emergency fund, guess what you're going to access?
I think everyone should understand that saving and investing are actually two different things.
How do you stay emotionally detached from the investments when they actually go down?
Let's say someone has to actually, someone has a plan to buy a home in 5 years. FHSE would be the best option.
Welcome everybody to our new podcast, and with us is Kirandeep Kaur. Kirandeep is a financial advisor with our brokerage for the last 1 year, and the reason we specially invited her so that you can understand the mindset of a brand new associate when they start working as a financial advisor. I know that she came as a student when she came to Canada, and how she grew from employee mindset to an entrepreneur mindset. So it will be a very, very great podcast. Stick around and we'll be going through deep dive into it. So welcome, Kiran. Really appreciate you coming in.
Thank you so much, Mr. Manmeet Soni, for having me here. It's a privilege to work with you and learn from you. So as you mentioned, I came as an international student 6 years ago in this country with big dreams and big vision in my heart, not just for myself, but for my family as well. And I came here that, I saw that this country is filled with possibilities, and that I can actually create a life and I can have that kind of lifestyle where I can enjoy time and money freedom. And when I started just like most of the students, from warehouse and restaurant jobs. And then after completing my college, I went into corporate world. I started working with multiple employers, juggling through multiple jobs. And then later I realized that I should learn something about finance in this country, because if I'm working hard for money, I should learn that how actually money works. So that's how I started into finance. And I started working with one of the top banks in Canada.
That's what I know, yes.
So, but very soon I realized that actually all these jobs, doesn't matter how big company you're working for, they will just pay you enough to actually help you pay your bills, but never enough to actually build time and money freedom. So that was the, turning point. That's how I got started into self-employment.
So Kiran, most of your clients that I see are under 30. Right? And I'm sure that you are able to relate with the challenges that they are going through, because you went through the same challenges and it was no different. So how are you able to suggest them? What do you suggest them they could avoid so they don't have to go through all those challenges that you have gone through, and they can be financially better?
Certainly, I can, relate with most of my clients, because I started my journey in this country just like them, came as a student and then started working, and then, got my PR. And when we come to this country, we do not know much about finances when we start, right? So we are so naive, we do not know anything about that. And we feel lost sometimes, we feel overwhelmed that how we will take care of all those things. The best thing is actually when you come to this country, right? Definitely you came for, you work hard, and you definitely come here for lifestyle. So definitely you're working for money.
Absolutely.
So that is exactly why it is very important to understand that how money works early on. So the best thing is actually, to get started with a financial advisor, because definitely you do not know much about finances. So it's good to seek out professional advice, and they can better guide you, how you can get started into this field.
So that just takes me to the next question. Have you noticed most of the time people ignore taking or looking into financial advisor or talking to them or taking a professional advice when they actually go out and seek advice from the doctors and the lawyers and all those professionals? But for financial advisor, they don't seek out as a professional advisor. They go to Google and they do all their own research, but never seek a financial advisor.
I think that's a major challenge. Actually, most of the people in Canada who come as immigrants are actually struggling with their finances because they do not seek financial advice.
Yeah.
And why does that happen? Because students mostly think that they do not earn enough money to, even they need any advice. And when you come on work permit, and then you start working at multiple jobs, and then again you believe that, you do not have enough money to, take advice, because most people assume that financial advisors are only for high net worth people.
Absolutely.
But that's not true.
What I always tell them is, the high net worth people, they were at the same position when they actually took the financial advisor, and now they are a high net worth clients.
Certainly, that's true because a financial advisor actually help you
Guided them through
build.
the process.
Exactly. So, especially when you start, that's exactly when you need the most advice.
Absolutely. That's what we always tell people is, you know what, when is the best time to fix the roof? Is it when it's sunny or is it when it's raining?
Definitely when it's sunny.
Because when it's raining, it's already too late. So many people say, oh, right now I don't have the money, so I don't need financial advisor. I said, that's when you need the financial advisor. So you can save some money. Because when you already have money, you're wealthy, you don't need a financial advisor because you already have one.
Certainly.
That's why you're able to save that much money. Okay, so that brings me to the next point on this one is that statistics of Canada shows that 7 out of 10 Canadians, 7 out of 10 Canadians go paycheck to paycheck, even when they're making over six-figure salary. So, as per you, with the experience that you have, what do you think could be the reason? Because this includes students, the permanent residents, even like the citizens over here, husband and wife together making six-figure salaries, but still paycheck to paycheck. What do you think would be the reason?
Well, I would actually, agree with the stats because on daily basis, I actually sit down with clients, and most of them are actually making $100,000 of income, six figures of income, and still they're paycheck to paycheck because it's not actually about income. It's most about it's actually about your habits, your mindset, and your financial knowledge that you have. And even people who are actually making good amount of money, they can actually fall into this trap. So it is very important to understand, how much money you're bringing home, what are your expenses, and if you have a proper plan to take care of your finances or not.
So for our audience, if I have to ask you, like, what are three top things that you see, like three habits for people that you see that keep them trapped on the poverty mindset? And what are the things that they could do to change that towards a wealth mindset?
So most of the people are actually in this trap. The first thing is actually they're just spending without actually having any plan. Second thing is they avoid financial advice, they avoid education, and third is basically comparison with other people. They are
Yes.
just upgrading their lifestyle without actually increasing their income. So just to look rich, they are spending money on brands and expensive products, but that's not how you can break that cycle.
So what are some of the suggestions?
So the suggestions is actually increase your income sources because definitely if you just rely on one source of income, that's maybe not sufficient. And secondly, always have a plan for your finances. Write them down on a piece of paper. What are your fixed expenses and what are the other expenses, so that you have a track that this much of income you're bringing home and this much is actually going out. And third is seek financial advice. Always sit down with an expert and let them help you with your finances.
See, what I always suggest everybody is that there's a concept called pay yourself first, right? That saving should be considered as a bill that you need to pay every single month before you pay any other bill.
Absolutely.
Once you have that habit, that 10% of my income has to go towards that bill, and that is a saving bill, before I could spend. And then it forces you to save that money. That's what I've been doing for my entire life. My father educated me on that. I'm sure that you are educating your clients on the same thing.
Certainly. That's the rule of thumb. I actually, help everybody understand that 10% of your income should be saved, does not matter how much you're making.
Absolutely.
Because if you're not taking care of your expenses and, like 90% of your income, then even 100 is not enough.
Absolutely. If you can't save $200 when you're making 2,000, do you think you will have a mindset to save 10,000 when you're making 100?
Absolutely.
It's not going to happen because it will seem like a bigger figure. But also what I want to talk about is the habits that people have is, there's a beautiful saying we always say that people buy things that they don't need. They buy it with the money that they don't have to impress people that they don't like, right? So some of the things most of the time they don't even need and they're still buying it. Is the difference between what we call is a need and want. And if people can just control that want side of it and stick to the need side of it, they will have enough savings. Would you agree?
Absolutely, I would agree with that. And actually, most of us actually, have become victims of that mindset because we are always in comparison. We are always, trying to upgrade our lifestyle. And most of the people are actually relying on debt, credit cards, and plastic cards. They believe that the money that they have in credit card, like it's their own
It's their own money. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's actually, you have to pay it back and you will be paying a very big amount of interest
Over
on that
20%
money.
easy.
And that is compounding too.
Absolutely right. So that's what it is. Like when we came to Canada, I came 21 years back. The credit card was like, somebody gave me the money. But I was wise enough that to actually get education from my father. He actually educated me saying, "Hey, listen, it's not your money.
Right.
This is a 20% cost on the money, so be careful about that." And credit cards are good if you know, like, what to want to track your expenses and everything, but it can only sidetrack you because if you don't understand how to spend properly. So in North America, what we have seen, the biggest challenge that what we always focus is that people generally have a capacity that they can spend before they can make
Right.
through their credit cards. Whereas back home, what it was, you make, then you spend whatever money you have. Over here, that's why people keep waiting for the next paycheck because the bills are already ready. They've already spent it. So coming back to the points on the investment side of it. So let's say somebody has $500 or to $1,000. What are the strategies that they can start with to go towards the saving habit and towards achieving their first few goals?
Okay. As you mentioned, Mr. Manmeet, you should have a habit of actually paying yourself first. And let's talk about someone, 25 years old. If they just start with $15 a day, they will be able to have over $1 million at the retirement at the age of 65.
So can you just repeat that again? Like what you said, go slow on that because I want my audience to listen to this thing.
So let's say someone is 25 years old, they just started working. And
25 years of age.
25 years old. And if they want to have a millionaire retirement, because that's everyone's dream.
Yeah.
And I think you need that kind of income.
$1 million tax free.
$1 million tax free,
Okay.
certainly. And if you just start saving $15 a day, that is like $500 on a monthly basis, you will be having like more than 1 million at your retirement.
And that is being conservative calculation at what percent?
6%.
6% is very much achievable because we are talking 40 years.
Absolutely, like it's very much achievable because if you look at the any market, the growth for 10 years is always like double the amount.
What about when they start at 35? I want everybody to understand like how it can cost them if they delay what we call as a procrastinate to start saving. So what happens when they start at the age of 35?
So if they start at the age of 35, now they have to double their savings. So now someone at 35 has to save $1,000 a month to reach the same goal.
To reach the same goal?
Yes.
So everybody, like what is more better? Like 500 or 1,000 that we have to decide. Okay. So
Definitely.
10 more years of procrastination. How much more they need to
You
do?
have to increase. You have to double your savings again. Now, if 35 years old is saving $1,000, you have to save $2,200 on a monthly basis
To get the same result.
to get the same result.
Now, if I sit down with somebody and explain them, do you think $15 is good or $2,200? What do you want to do?
$15 is
$15, right.
exactly.
So I wish people could just understand this thing. This is awesome example. I really enjoy it. But we have also seen people now chasing, that quick success, what the high returns, what I'm using this software, that software. And so some person just wakes up one day say, I want to do day trading. I'm making 30% return on that. Why people should avoid going into that kind of a cycle because that's dangerous. Right. And why do people get inclined so fast towards it? And what kind of discipline they need to have to not get attracted towards those temporary success?
Certainly, before coming to finance, I actually thought the same thing that, maybe I can just invest money and overnight it will become double. But that's not how it works. Since working in this industry, working with top banks, what I understood actually, if you want your money to grow, you have to give it enough time.
Absolutely.
Because even we look at, Warren Buffett, so, more than 85% of his wealth was actually created after he turned, 85. Why? Because he actually gave that money enough time to grow.
Absolutely.
So 2 rules, actually invest consistently and give it enough time to grow.
So consistency and time.
Consistency and time, definitely.
Perfect.
And small temptations, so like, you have to be emotionally detached from your investments, because if you're investing in the market, definitely market will fluctuate, it will go up and it will go down as well. But when it is going down, you see that your money has lost value, but that is not the time to pull your money out. That is actually the time you should invest more, because that's the time when your investment is actually available at a discounted price and you can buy more units of that same investment. So do not pull out your money when you're saving 10%. Do not look at that money unless until if it's a financial hardship or you have to actually get that money.
See, this is where the financial advisors actually help you. Because if you are in the emotional roller coaster, if you don't have an advisor, you will encash the money very fast.
Absolutely.
But if you're sitting with an advisor, he can reason with you that do you really need this money? Or you're just getting emotionally excited that the market is down and you want to take it out. So that's where I've seen, like when they have a financial advisor, they actually put you in the place to make you come to the realization that you really don't need it.
Certainly.
You're just emotionally excited about it or you're emotionally down about it. And that's what you're taking the decisions.
Absolutely. And that's how financial advisors actually help, because people who are investing through financial advisors, they achieve better investment results comparatively to those who do not have. So how much your investment will return, how much returns you will have on your investments, it totally depends on if you're working with a financial advisor and how much knowledge they have towards your goals.
Because you just said that $500 that somebody's investing, that's a small amount, but you gave it some time, that becomes $1 million tax free. So one thing you talked about discipline, but then also you need to have patience and give it some time for the money to grow. So this is so true. This is pretty awesome. So let's talk about you. Like I'm sure that you are investing your money. So what has been the best investment that you have done so far, and what did you learn from it?
Okay, so one of the best investments that I actually did it investing in myself, other than actually
Okay.
the financial investments. I invested in myself, getting some certifications and courses, reading books, upgrading my knowledge. That actually helped me become that person who can make more income. So that is the best investment I've done.
Okay, so you're saying that not only the money wise, but you need to also invest on you as a person, so you can have that patience and the knowledge and that how the things actually work.
Absolutely.
Now that's where it comes to the emotional strength as well, right? Because only when you read books you get to understand the delayed gratification, the patience, and the time that you need to do. So how do you stay emotionally detached from the investments when they actually go down?
Because I always look at the future, because I invested that money for my future, not for today, right? And whenever you're investing, you have to think, like, for example, let's say every month we are actually making so many transactions, we are making so many payments, right? And that money is gone already.
Yeah.
We will not get that money back, right? So just have same mindset towards your investment. Just think that that money is actually invested and I cannot access it.
Absolutely.
And that's how you can actually grow that money.
And also you would have noticed that when people don't balance the investments, in the sense that they don't do emergency funds and they don't do long-term investments. So if you put everything into long-term, you don't have any emergency fund, guess what you can access? The one that was supposed to be long-term. And if you put everything in the emergency fund and you keep accessing it, there's nothing left for the long-term. So don't you think it's important that we differentiate between those two things, have at least 3 to 6 months of a buffer of your fixed income, fixed expenses as emergency funds, so you don't actually touch the long-term investments even with the fluctuation of the market?
Absolutely. So whenever someone comes to me, I always give them this discipline, that have 10% of your money invested, 5% into long term and 5% into short term.
Makes
So that's
sense.
the best diversification. Because if you just, if you keep accessing your long term is actually invested, and that for example, let's say the money is locked, so you cannot access it, right? And short term will never help you build wealth, because if you keep accessing that money, you're not actually growing that money. So it's always good to have, diversified for short term and long term needs both.
So that's what we have seen is, I always tell our associates that, when you meet somebody, you ask them, do you have a tax-free savings account? They say yes. And so the second question you should ask them is it maximized? And 90% of the people say no. And I ask them the question, why is it not maximized? It's a great investment. They say, because we keep accessing it.
Right.
But if you keep accessing it, guess what? It's never going to maximize. It's never going to give you the returns that you're looking at. The amount of $1 million that you're looking at is not going to be there.
Certainly. If you keep accessing that, it won't be there.
Perfect. So now that we talk about diversification, where it comes into the places. So for a beginner, what would you recommend? Like, how do they divide between stocks, dividends, ETFs, portfolios, mutual funds? What they should be looking at, and what is a good starting point for somebody, so that they don't get into that emotional roller coaster?
Certainly. The first and foremost thing is actually, have your goals written down on a piece of paper. Because when it comes to finances, we cannot give same advice to everyone, because,
Absolutely.
everyone has different goals and they are making different kind of income. So the solutions will be tailored.
Absolutely.
But one thing that everybody actually can get started with is actually, just start with saving $10 a day, maybe in a tax-free savings account if you're in Canada. Because everybody in Canada actually has tax-free savings account. You're eligible to save into that account. And if you just keep saving $10 a day, that will give you good amount of money sitting in tax-free savings account.
Absolutely.
And that's how you can get started.
So first recommendation is go for TFSA.
First
Because
recommendation.
that should be for everybody,
Certainly.
right? And let's say somebody's making a 6-figure salary. What would you recommend them?
So if someone is making a six-figure salary, basically if you fall in high income tax bracket as well, you can take advantage of a registered retirement savings plan. And if you plan for your first home, you can also take advantage of first home savings account.
And why do we need to do both? What's the benefit of that?
So basically, first home savings account actually has a limitation that you can only save up to $40,000 in a lifetime, and that too comes with an annual limit of $8,000. So that
Okay.
means you cannot put more than $8,000 in 1 year.
So you can save for 5 years towards the first house.
Exactly,
Okay.
and you can max out in 5 years. But
Got it.
RRSP actually allows you that you can actually access up to $60,000 under home buyer plan towards the down payment of your first home.
So when you do FHSA and RRSP, the great thing that happens is you also get the tax break.
Absolutely,
So
you get tax refund on the money that you contribute towards the accounts.
Perfect. So that's an extra payment that you can use towards the down payment.
Certainly, you can use that money towards your other investments.
But there's also another thing that I've heard in RRSP that money has to be reinvested into the account, but the government gives you another 18 to 20 years to do that.
Certainly, yes. So basically, why it is like that? Because RRSP is actually for retirement,
Absolutely.
right? And but it allows government allows people who actually government allows people who are buying their first home to access that money under home buyer plans. But certainly, you have to pay that money back. So basically, you're borrowing money from your RRSP for the down payment of your first home. But in FHSA, you're not borrowing. You're just specifically using that account towards your first home. But let's say someone has to actually, someone has a plan to buy a home in 5 years. FHSA would be the best option.
Okay.
But if let's say someone just got a good deal and they would like to, buy a home and sooner, in 1 or 2 years, and they do not have that much of room to put down payment in FHSA, then they can take advantage of RRSP.
RRSP as well. Yeah, both of them are useful. To be honest, what I always say everybody, like plan so you can optimize it for both the things. As simple as that. So when you already touched upon my next question, which is like buying the first house. So let's say somebody's planning to buy the first house. You as a financial advisor, what are some of the things that you would recommend that they should be looking at step by step? What are the things like a check marks? Like I have this, I have done this, I have done this, and I'm good in a good position to buy my first house. So what are some of the things that you would suggest?
So, most of us come to this country as immigrants, so that's why buying home is actually dream for everyone.
Yes.
So, the first thing you can get started with is actually have a good credit score, because definitely when you buy a house, most of the money is actually coming from mortgage in the form of loan. So it's a loan, so you need to maintain a good credit score.
Okay.
And then the next thing is you can actually get a pre-approved mortgage depending upon how much income you're making. You can get a pre-approved mortgage and then work with a good realtor. And definitely sit down with a financial advisor as well, because a good realtor will help you find a good property. But a financial advisor will actually help you how you can actually take care of your down payment and how you can actually properly manage your next few years.
And also, more than likely, the financial advisor will be able to tell you like how much, like face value of the house that you should be buying.
Certainly.
Right? Don't get carried away buying $1 million house, because the real estate agent will say, buy $1 million house, that's okay, you can afford it. But what if you can't even manage a mortgage through it?
That's exactly why it is important to actually work with a realtor and a financial advisor, both at the same.
Again, coming back to that emotional decision compared to the professional decision, right? So that's what is very, very important to deal with a financial advisor. So that's a great point into it. So now coming to the point of, let's continue with the investments, because I'm enjoying that conversation with you when you talk about the investments. Now let's break down for our audience to understand, just in simple format. We'll talk about 2-3 of them. Very popular investments called tax-free savings account. We talk about first home savings account, and we talk about RRSPs. So if somebody has to understand like what strategy to be used under what circumstances, give me like 2 or 3 line definition or explanation about each of them.
Certainly. So TFSA stands for tax-free savings account. So that is actually for everybody. That actually allows you to grow your money tax-free. So that means you do not pay any tax on the growth, but definitely the contributions are not tax-free, but it actually allows you to access money in any emergency as well. So that's for everyone. And FHSA, it's like for first home savings account. So anybody in Canada who has not bought their first home should be having FHSA, because it allows you to get tax-free. Because it allows you to save for your first home down payment absolutely tax-free, and you do not have to pay any tax on the growth as well.
So the growth and the principal both come out tax-free.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
And then RRSP, it stands for Registered Retirement Savings Plan. So that is actually a long-term plan. So that helps you actually bring down your tax as well, because when you contribute towards RRSP, you get a tax refund on that money. But that does not mean that that's tax free, because it's a tax deferred plan. So you will be
Okay.
paying tax when you will be accessing that money at your retirement. But also, it is good for people who has not bought their first home, because you can access that money through home bad plan.
But what I've also heard in FHSA as well, you can get the tax break as well. Is that true? Like just like RRSP?
That's absolutely true. So whatever you contribute towards your FHSA, that has been deducted from your income. So you get tax refund on your contribution
On FHSA as well.
on FHSA as well.
That's so good. So if I have to combine all of this strategy, right? Like somebody has to buy the house and they want to optimize it. So how would you tell them to look into it? I'm sure you will. I'm been talking to you. I only know you're going to say stick to the financial advisor. But for people who don't have a financial advisor right now, what would be one strategy? How can they combine all of it, and how can they optimize it?
So what they can basically do is definitely TFS is for everyone. So get started with TFSA. Just start with saving 5% of your income, and have FHSA opened. And if you're not sure about when you're planning to buy your home, but still have FHSA open, because that allows you to carry forward your contribution room. And whenever you're planning to buy your home, then you can actually, that's when the time you have to sit down with a financial advisor, looking at your finances. That advisor can actually guide you, FHSE, RRSP, which is the best option towards your goals. But you can use these strategies to, like, these are for everyone. These strategies are for everyone.
That's great. So now, have you heard about many people say strategy? You know what? Skip a cup of coffee, save that $4, and you can grow a lot of wealth. Is it really true, or they need to think bigger? You know what, like $4 is not enough. I need to save $10, $15, $20 a day.
So I think everyone should understand that saving and investing are actually two different things. For example, let's say even if you're skipping a $4 coffee every day, so that is like $120. But if you're just saving that money, that is only going to remain $120. But if you invest that $4, right, it might become 150. So you got $30 in growth as well. So saving is just not enough, like you should be investing that money as well.
So what I've heard from my mentors, they always used to say and explain to me that when we understand this, that savings will never make you rich, investments will, because a saving in the long term is only going to lose value and lose the buying power, because inflation is going to eat up everything.
Absolutely, that's right. Inflation is like increasing on a daily basis, so your value of money is definitely going down. So you have to actually make, at least 6%, because you have to beat inflation as well, and then you have to get some growth as well.
That's good. So you know what? This is great. I'm sure that many people have understood that, planning a first house is just not going out and looking for the house. There's so much more involved in terms of like a credit score, in terms of like down payment, in terms of planning like RRSPs and FHSAs and investing it properly and planning for the 2-3 years prior to actually planning to buy the house. Not just like wake up one day and just go to the reality and say, I want to buy the house. It's going to be hard. And it's going to be a very emotional decision that you will take. And that's why we see many people are not able to afford the mortgages, and they're looking for second jobs and the third jobs, and they're always in tension.
Absolutely, that's absolutely right, because buying house is actually a major financial decision that you're making, because your mortgage is actually scheduled for the next 25 30 years. So you have to actually look at your finances in a long term way. So definitely that's where sitting down with a financial advisor helps you to better understand that how you should be actually making that decision.
And you've seen many times you sit down with when somebody's sitting by themselves, all they're doing is assuming the interest rate will not change, and they calculate the current mortgage. You being working with one of the banks, you understand how the banks go through the stress test. You know what, if the interest rate goes up by 2%, what would you do? Will you be able to afford it or not? And we have seen that in the last 3 years, what happened to the interest rate, and so many foreclosures and so many bankruptcies with it, because people didn't estimate the payments accordingly.
Absolutely, and all these things are actually not in our control, right?
Absolutely.
Because I cannot expect how the market would perform for the next 5-10 years. So I do not know, how much how interest rates are going to work, how interest rates are going to work. So that's exactly why it is important to understand that how your decision is going to impact your next 5-10 years.
This is where I want to bring up on this question, because when I asked you this question for the interest, and I made the comment, because I want to jump to this next topic, which is actually linked to this thing, which is what we talked about, the tariffs and the interest, what's happening in the market, and why somebody should be aware of what's happening with the tariffs, and they need to understand some of the news that how is it impacting. And the recent news came with Canadian having unemployment rate of 7.1%, which was yesterday, and that has been the highest for a very long time. And then the interest rate also can impact, and everybody's just praying the interest rate to go down, which is happening in September. In the next couple of days, like Bank of Canada is going to launch it. But I don't know if it's going to go down or it's going to go up. So with this tariff and the interest rate speculation, we don't know what's going to happen. How somebody should be more careful in making those financial decisions that they're planning to do in next couple of months or next couple of years.
I actually also wanted to talk about this thing because of tariffs, the market has been fluctuating, more than 7-8 times every month, and I'm getting calls from my clients that what will happen to our money? Is it safe? Is it time to invest? Is it time to pull out? So I'm getting all those questions. But what I believe, actually, thanks to tariffs, because this is actually an opportunity. We all need to realize that we should never be because of the tariffs, there are so many job loss, unemployment rate has gone up, and definitely people are losing money. People who do not have any savings, they need to borrow money to actually take care of their expenses and everything. So this is actually an opportunity to realize that you should never be relying only on one skill or one source of income. You should have multiple sources of income. You should have multiple skills that might help you during such times. And other thing, this is actually a very big opportunity for investors, because investors understand that the right time to invest is when market is down. And people who actually took advantage of this in the month of April, now they have actually already grown their money by more than 10%.
Wow.
So
now coming to the point in this one, what I've heard from Warren Buffett as well, he says very well, this thing is that he says in his book, it was one of his interviews, he was saying that, how long do you think a person works in a day for money? Just let me ask you this question.
8 to 10 hours.
8 to 10 hours. But he says that amazing. But if you invest, your money will work 24 hours a day for you.
That is absolutely correct.
Can you imagine?
Right, because money is never going to sleep.
Absolutely. Money does not sleep. Money does not get tired. Money does not get sick. Money does not need statutory holidays. Money is going to work 24 hours for you. That is when the compounding starts to happen. And individual is only, and I feel sad when people say, what, right now I can't invest, I have other priorities. I'm like, are you kidding me? This could be a best opportunity for you to do.
Exactly.
That's why putting $500 gives you $1 million tax free when you retire. Because the money is not sleeping, it's constantly working.
Absolutely. And more people realize this, they will be actually in a better financial picture upon their retirement.
Absolutely. No, this is amazing conversation that we have. So now let's talk about this way. You've been 6 years in Canada, if I'm not wrong?
Yes.
Perfect. So when you came in, I'm sure that certain things you didn't do in the early stages when you came here. Is that true?
Yes.
And you started to do some financial decisions last couple of years when you were getting knowledge about these things. So now, if you had the knowledge what you have today, how would you start from the very first year when you landed in Canada towards your financial discipline?
I wish I had that. I wish I had this knowledge at the time when I came to this country, because definitely I would have been a lot better financial picture today. So one advice for everyone who actually start in this country new: start with saving at least 5% of your income.
That's good.
And
5%, okay.
5% of income should goes towards saving and investing, and do not get emotionally attached to that income. And second most important thing is actually protect your income, because when we come to this country, we are the assets for our families, because we do not have a strong financial picture at that time.
Yeah.
So we need to protect ourselves and our assets, because the fundamental reality of any investment that you're doing right now, or any investment that you will do in the future, that it has to be funded by the income that you're bringing home. So
Absolutely.
your income should be protected.
And most of the people, when they came to Canada, they have a lot of debts back home because they took some loans and everything for the study when they came to Canada. Or they took some loan when they came as a PR over here, they're buying the house and they liquidated all the savings from back home.
And that is correct, and most of the people do not realize that if god forbid something happens to themselves, like they will be leaving their family in a very difficult financial picture. And that can actually be taken care if you sit down with a financial advisor. Again, many people believe that like protecting your income is just another expense, or it is a lot of money. But if you help, and if you actually let a financial advisor help you, they can actually help you understand that you can actually do it in less than a $10 in a month.
Wow, wow, this is just brilliant. You know what? Telling you about the a real example for me, when I bought my first house and I had a mortgage, my parents sat me down on the side. He said, Manmeet, now you have a biggest debt. Congratulations, you bought the house. You're married, you got a kid. We want you to have a life insurance. I'm like, why? Why do I have for my corporation, I have for my company? They say, you know what? That's not enough. You need to have something that is equivalent to the debt that you have. And he said a very, very important statement to me, my father. He says, you know what, Manmeet, we don't know how the life is going to turn around. But if you can't leave your family with asset, please don't leave them with liabilities. Right? So that just struck me so hard that I said, you know what, no, that's so true. And you're absolutely right. You don't need to have an expensive insurance. You sit down with a financial advisor, you can have it with like $20 a month or something to start with. But at least you protect your family. Don't leave them with debt, right? This is so important. Now, let's talk about a conservative family. A lot of families, when they come in, they buy the first house, they're very conservative because their first job, they want to prove themselves, they want to save. So if two family people have conservative jobs, conservative habits, what would be the safest 5% that they could invest with? What would be one thing that you would recommend?
Get started with a tax-free savings account, and keep saving 5% of your income in tax-free savings account. Let's say if you do not want to go aggressive on your investments, you can invest in a balanced portfolio. You can definitely grow it at 6% or 7%, and that can help you actually build emergency fund. And because if you have money saved, that actually gives you confidence, and you can take care of many things in the future.
You have repeated that word emergency funds many times. I have seen many people use lines of credits and credit card as their emergency funds. They say, you know what, I have that, I can use that. But what is the difference between having a TFSA as emergency funds and compared to credit cards and lines of credit as emergency funds? So many people would not understand this logic, but I really want to come from you, like they should understand this thing.
This is a very interesting question actually, and this is what I learned from one of my mentors as well. He said that, Kiran, when you're investing in a tax-free savings account, is your investment guaranteed that you will definitely get 6% every month? That is not true. The market might fluctuate and I might not get 6%. But if I'm borrowing money from my credit cards and my line of credit, the interest rate 25%, 14%, 16% is guaranteed, and I have to pay it every month. And that's what's the major difference is.
You know, this has been such an amazing podcast. One of my favorites, actually. You know what? Coming a young entrepreneur that you are, and growing so well, I guess I can see you becoming one of the biggest brokers in our organization. Now, to close this, just one last question I want to have. What is one piece of advice that you would give to the audience that could be applicable to every single person?
First thing is always increase your income sources. So maybe develop a new skill.
So multiple income sources.
Multiple income sources. Do not rely on just one source of income.
And how do they can do it?
So, just to learn another skill, it only takes, 5 to 6 hours on a weekly basis.
Okay. Very
so
good.
It's just your Netflix time, and maybe even if you do not, want to give away your Netflix time, it's like just take out 3 hours, 4 hours. You can just start with that. And along with that, always have a budget. Like for example, how much income you're making and how much your expenses should be. Always keep your expenses less than 50%, less than 60%, and save at least 10% of your income.
So let me summarize this. Save 10% of your income.
Yes.
Invest on learning an extra skill so you can increase another source of income.
Yes.
Always have a budget. So people cannot say that, I'm not a financial person, I don't know where my money goes. Imagine you're saying, I don't know where my money goes, and you will never be in a position where you can have some savings, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So this is great. So coming back again, I'm going to repeat this. 10% to be saved, learn another skill, have a budget, and I'm sure that you repeat it many times, sit down with a financial advisor.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. No, I really appreciate it, Kiran. This is one of the finest podcasts that we have recorded, and I'm positive that our audience will get lots and lots of value through this. Really appreciate it. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.